Hey, everybody. Welcome to today. Today's not only a great day, it's a wonderful day because I'm here with two of my favorite compadres. You ever had that really funny uncle as he is at a party and he says, these three guys walk into a bar? Well, I happen to know the other two guys, and they are two podcasters here, and we're three podcasters walk into a bar. I got David
Blackmon, Blackmon. Yes.
I was trying to think of something else, David. I had a senior moment, and I'm over here going, David Blackmon, he is a Forbes contributing author, and I mean, he's got the energy question. He has got his Substack. He is a man about town. Just got back from a cruise. Welcome, David. Thanks for stopping by.
I'm tanned and rested and ready to go, Stu. Let's hit it.
Boy, last week you looked like dog crap. I mean, you came in hard, partying hard off of that cruise. You could barely even move.
Yeah, well, that's just part of the general vibe I give off.
I got nothing on that, RT. Next guy, yeah, we don't want to touch that one. RT's coming around the corner at about warp speed. RT is a head honcho over there at Pecos Operating Corporation, an EMP operator in Texas, Oklahoma. He's also the podcast host for The Crude Truth, the one and only Crude Truth. Welcome, RT.
Hey, welcome. Welcome to you, gentlemen. Hope everybody had a great weekend and excited to be doing this again on this wonderful Monday or whatever day it is.
Hey, we got an action-packed show today. We want to talk about some of that, as we say in a Tex Okie kind of slang. That some of that ESG got me on. You got a cup of that ESG going on there, David?
I drink a quart of it a day, I think.
Oh my gosh, just shoot.
My carbon footprint shrinks all constantly. You know,
I don't want to know about that. Do you have a medication for that? Because I
do. I got 3 or 4 of them. You know, I got to call my doctor's office when we're over to get a prescription renewed. So
nice. Now, what was your article you were going to talk about? What article?
Well, we had a really interesting announcement from SLB. You used to know this company as Schlumberger. Big oil field service company that's now bills itself mainly as a technology company, and there's good reasons why.
Right.
They have been introducing a bunch of new technologies over the last year. And at CERAWeek this week, they rolled out what they're calling Cementless Cement, which is an alternative product to the cement we all use, everyone uses in industrial applications, construction, and across the entirety of the oil patch, upstream, midstream, downstream. Cement and steel are the two main ingredients in oil and gas and in the oil and gas business. And,
all right. I can't wait to talk about this one. Explain to me, in my stupidity, since I went to Oklahoma State University, what the hell is cementless cement?
Yeah, it's an alternative product that they source. They make it from waste materials, locally sourced natural products. And they have run an 18-well pilot test with Pioneer Natural Resources in the Permian Basin as a proof point on the effectiveness of the technology. And Pioneer's apparently very happy with it and continuing to use it for future operations. So that's a good sign. And you know, the thing that makes this such an interesting, potentially game-changing technology is that the carbon footprint of cement is enormous. It's one of the biggest drivers of man-caused CO2 emissions globally. And if you can develop alternatives with a much lower carbon footprint, it could be really impactful in the whole ESG debate. SLB says that this product lowers life cycle carbon emissions compared to actual cement by 85%.
Oh, wow.
Which is a huge reduction.
All right. Call me old, call me skeptical, but here's the thing. We use currently California's coal usage has gone up over the last several years because they use coking coal to make cement. So if we can
Yeah.
get rid of coal usage, I'm in. But if we're using polychlorides and other chemicals that just took out Ohio, I'm not real interested
Oh,
in
vinyl chloride? No,
yeah.
I doubt that's an ingredient here. I
I
don't
just
have all the
imagine.
details on it yet. I'm hoping to get an interview with one of their senior executives next week
Nice.
to talk in more detail about it, and we'll have a subsequent report. But I wrote a story about it at Forbes on Monday, and just to get what details were in their release and out to the public, and not trying to do a commercial here, but this is
It's cool.
a significant thing. So I think everyone should be aware of it.
Well, I'm just thinking, as an operator myself, me and Pioneer, we have one thing in common: we both drill oil wells. That's about
Yeah.
it. But this is very interesting to hear because I know for us and anybody else, you got to cement all around your casing and through your water source to protect the water source, which a lot of people don't understand that we do, because again, we drink the same water, so
Right.
we do our best. So it'd be real interesting to see how this, again, how it holds up long term, and if Pioneer's already done this to 18 wells. That's not in my opinion, I know Pioneer is a large company, but to do 18 wells, that's no joke to
Yeah,
do
that's
this.
pretty
So
significant. Yeah.
it's very significant. So they must be pretty happy with whatever this cementless cement is. And then if FLB wants another a smaller operator to give it a test run, hey, they can find Pecos Country Operating. I can tell you that much. We're always about trying to save and protect the environment long term. So
I am absolutely thrilled about this because any energy tech we can use to save the carbon footprint, but Occidental Petroleum was probably a little upset since they're trying to enter into the 40 billion the $4 trillion market of carbon capture. They're going, hey, you're destroying our market here.
I think there's still plenty of other carbon emissions out there, Stu.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they're going to have any shortage of feedstock for carbon capture.
No. I don't think.
Funny. Well, RT, what's your story?
Well, here we are already in March, and I won't say about how the weather has been so far for March, and hopefully it'll continue, and I'll leave it at that. But we didn't have a very bad winter. Yes, we had 1 or 2 days in December and 1 or 2 days in February, but as a whole, the weather this winter was not very bad. And which is a very good thing, not only for us here in America, but also in Europe. But one thing that I read today, and it really is kind of a canary in the coal mine, as the article even using as an example, is up in the Northeast that their power grid is continuing to get older, and that due to their regulations and their lack of pipelines and the oldness of their infrastructure, that is actually one of the largest power grids in America, and that it is going to get, I guess the best way to put it is they really need to start updating it, or else we could see some major power outages in one of the most populated areas in America in the near future. And we've talked about it before, that they have such old rules and regulations that really hinder them from getting all the modern necessities of getting more reliable natural gas to that entire Northeast area.
I learned.
Yeah, you've had a blockade on. Oh, go ahead, Stu.
Oh, sorry. I learned a lot. Mike, you and I talked about Meredith Angwin on shortening the grid on her book. I learned a lot from her in our podcast. Shameless plug on my podcast. But it's even more than that. There's another article that came out last week, and we talked about the amount of reserves. Soon as you throw the renewables on there, you got to add another 180% for the renewables. instead of just adding 20%, which is the industry standard for a natural gas and or a coal plant that you could use because those are rock solid, or even less than a nuke. A nuke, you only need 5%. So because of its steady energy stuff, 180 is a lot when you're adding additional reserve capacity.
Yeah, and that of course is one of the shortcomings of renewables is their capacity factor is only what, 20%?
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you're generating 20% of the time, and really less than that in a lot of instances. And so, just because you add a couple of gigawatts of capacity in wind or solar, that doesn't mean you're adding a couple of gigawatts of actual generation time, 24
Right.
hours a day to the grid. And you have to have these other generating sources like natural gas and coal and nuclear. And up in the Northeast on that grid, RT, one of the interesting aspects of that grid is they continue to have old plants that use fuel oil to generate electricity, which is as high polluting as coal, basically. And it's really the only big grid left that still uses a lot of fuel oil, and it's because, as you mentioned, they don't have pipeline capacity to take that Marcellus and Utica shale gas up to the Northeast because of the blockade that New York State has had in place for 12, 14 years now. And unfortunately, the federal government continues to support that. So you can't get the pipelines built to supply the gas up there.
Well, and you're absolutely right that talking about the power and getting the gigawatts, that, believe it or not, as much as we hear about all the people leaving New York, but we don't hear about all the people moving to New York, moving to Maine, to Maryland, to all those 13 countries, 13 states and Washington, D.C. And, the amount of electricity that's needed right now is outpacing the amount of oil or fossil fuel or wind or solar need 3 to 1, meaning that for every 3 parts of electricity, we're only getting 1 part of that generator of that electricity. And that's also one of the main concerns that they have right now, is that if the population is continuing to grow and the electricity need is continuing to grow at a much higher rate than the source of energy can get to them for the electricity.
Yeah, and they've got they have a lot of old generation up there that is really past normal retirement age. Their one nuclear plant, was scheduled to be retired a couple of years ago, and they have prolonged it. And you just have to at some point update these things and allow new construction of new capacity, or you're just not going to have enough electricity to keep the lights on. And it's amazing to me how these regulators and politicians allow these situations to deteriorate all over the country, really. I mean, to a much lesser extent, we have similar issues in Texas.
We do, and I think that's part of the reason. And by the way, this article is by Dr. Ed Ireland of TCU, Texas Christian University, here in Fort Worth, Texas. But no, it's as the more that our power structure and grid gets older, they are not allowing, due to new regulations, for us to build up, because they want it to be in a way that we just can't with this wind and solar. And that's just a shame. That's like, guys, we need to get electricity to the people of the world. This is a necessity. And it's a shame that they're turning it into such a propaganda story all the time. So
right. Yeah. And that's unfortunately what we get in our news media on pretty much every energy related subject is propaganda.
And of course, and if it goes out, which I don't want it to, it'll be blamed on the fact that, that we didn't have enough natural gas or something like that, and that'll be the funny part about it. Or not funny part, but to us, it'll be like, we're already talking about this. And the example really for them that they need to be following is here in Texas. It's like, don't do this. And this is what happened in Texas. And which, again, we're following Germany still, which is, we've already seen what happened in Germany, and we're still headed down that path. So, I guess monkey see, monkey do. I don't know.
Wow, that was a quote. When we sit back and take a look, there's a big play going on with the U.S. versus the European BP and Total Energy and all that kind of good stuff with the renewables. Beyond Petroleum is now they're backing up on theirs and they're walking that back. But the hypocrisy, guys, on trying to figure out they're not subsidies. And when we're talking about renewables on the grid and the $400 billion that all of the foreign countries are walking in trying to get some of that wind farm action and some of those things going on of our taxpayer monies, is all it's going to do is drive the price up to the end user consumers. Siemens and all these others are going to roll in and try to take that money that they have printed, but they still won't be able to put all those on the grid because of the regulation slowdown. There was another article 2 weeks ago that said, oh, by the way, you can't put any of all this money out there because the regulations, RT, do you have to have things walked through? And sometimes they just don't happen with the planning and all that. Try a squirrel on like that back east. They're not going to be able to even add wind farms that we pay the money to overseas to have them come in and install them because we don't have any project managers to walk through the approval processes. What a squirrel.
Well, and I don't know if either one of you guys saw it over the weekend. There's a propaganda piece in the Washington Post. We talk about propaganda. And the Post was the thesis of this article was, well, we're going to need another big subsidy bill because the IRA is subsidizing the build out of all these new wind farms and solar panels. But what they didn't include in the IRA was hundreds of billions of dollars for the transmission lines you're going to need to build to take the electricity from the solar farm 300 miles away into the city where all the demand is, right? So they're already setting up for the next big subsidy bill to go through Congress the next time the Democrats have majorities in both houses. Which, who knows, could happen in 2024. So anyone who thought the IRA was going to be, the full cost of this energy transition in terms of subsidies for renewables, no, it's just a down payment. It's just a down payment. The plan is to have one of those every year or two from now on. And, until we all wake up as voters, this is going to continue.
RT, that's like you going in and trying to buy a truck for your oil field, and they go in and say the payment's going to be $1,000 a month for the truck. Wheels are $4,000 each.
Well, I was about to say, first of all, by IRA, you're talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, correct?
Yeah, I hate to use that full name because it's so misleading, but yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I was going to use the example that it sounds like they built the airport building, but they forgot to build the runways for the airport.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about.
And
exactly.
Or it's like I'm trying to drill an oil well, but I don't have the actual drilling apparatus to drill it. It's like, all right, we're going to drill a well. Oh, wait, now we got to actually get the drill bit.
Yeah, we could be out there with a shovel.
Shoot, I'll be doing that. I think I'll be out there with 2 shovels this coming week. It's as much rain as we've been having lately here in North Texas. I tell you what.
That's funny.
But no, it's just a down shame that the way we are beginning to see these subsidies in action, that they are no longer subsidies to truly help out Americans. They are more of a way to just give money to certain individuals or organizations, almost as what were they called? Pork spending. Almost, it's almost a fancy way for a good old fashioned pork spending. Would you say, David?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's what most of it is. It is going to be. I will say this. All these subsidies are going to attract all this private investment to those projects, and they are going to become a driver of economic growth. in the communities, in the areas where these projects take place. There's going to be a lot of jobs connected to them, and a lot of steel and all sorts of supplies that are going to have to be purchased, and construction that's going to have to be done. So they are going to be a driver of economic growth.
Yeah.
But they're also a driver of enormous budget deficits that are going to continue to grow. This year, we're paying $400 billion in interest on our public debt in the United States of America. In 1977, the entire federal budget was $400 billion. So that's where we are, and those numbers are only going to continue to grow because all these subsidies are with, as Stu said, it's with printed money, and it's not something that we really have the money to do, and there just seems to be no one thinking about that, and it makes me fear for my grandkids' future.
We'd have the money if we didn't give it to Ukraine.
Well, we'd have 110 billion more, I guess, right? Or we would have printed 110 billion less, because that's printed money too.
Yeah.
Well, print money to pay the interest.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Oh, you bet. So this next coming around the week, RT, what do you see coming around the corner this week?
Well, I think gas prices are going to continue to go up this week. I think oil is going to continue to go up a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we flirt with maybe 85, but definitely we're going to hit over 80 this week and probably stay there. And then for Pecos Country Operating, God willing, as long as we get the dry weather, we'll be doing a couple of fracks this week. So we're excited about that, kind of increased production, trying to keep up with the pioneers of the world.
Nice. Frackin' A Batman. That's pretty cool.
There you go. There you go.
All right, man, that's outstanding. Congratulations on the getting out there, because that's one step closer to producing well.
Oh, that is. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
That's cash for your investors.
That's right. They
All
like
right.
that. They like cash returns, I promise.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. David, what do you see coming around the corner? I mean, you got your finger on the entire globe. What do you see?
I agree with RT on the outlook for oil prices. I think we're on an upward trend. China's reopening fully. There was a disappointing projection of economic growth for China this morning that caused prices to drop just a little bit, but then they recovered immediately. So I just think the general inertia is towards higher prices. We're going to start to see this month, we'll start to see some of the refineries being taken offline for annual maintenance and change over to summer blend fuels. That's always going to cause an increase in gasoline prices. So gas prices are going to be going up, folks. Fill up today if you can before that happens. And, otherwise we just try to keep up with all the propaganda and debunk as much of it as we can.
Let me ask you both this, because of your opinion. I got a real mixed emotions on what the world is going to happen with OPEC and what the oil pricing coming around the corner is. The president, or the head dog over there at Saudi Aramco, said that they do see continued really big increase in, just like you mentioned, the China demand and oil growth. But in the last several weeks, there were some big articles about the dark fleet and the gray fleet. We're losing 30 global tankers a month to Russia and to India and to the others that are now transporting oil outside of OPEC's control. I have no clue how that loss of all those tankers, because China is going to buy off the dark and gray fleet, and then India and all these others are going to be buying off of that. And the suppliers to the dark fleet are Iran, Iraq, Venezuela, Russia. And so all that takes the production out from the OPEC plus, as well as the OPEC. So it pulls it out of the market. And so all of a sudden your whole pricing model changes. What are y'all's thoughts on that? I have no clue how to figure
that's a black market that sprung up to get around the sanctions on Russia mainly, but also Iran and Venezuela. And it makes it harder to account for what global supply demand really are. And it forces traders to look more at inventories and things like that as indicators, and to economic growth projections in places like China and growing economies in Asia. But that's a growing problem that OPEC is going to have to figure out a way to deal with, but not just OPEC, but the traders and investors as well.
Oh yeah. As an EMP dude or guru, what do you think, RT?
Well, I mean, with that disappearing off the books, I mean, technically that doesn't help. You've got to account for it somehow, some way. So, the price, you will see that price go up to account for. I mean, 30 tankers is not a small amount of oil.
Every month.
Every month, yeah, because I don't know the official amount of how much a tanker holds, but
I mean, RT, that's to the dark fleet. There's over 200 already in the dark fleet.
Right.
I mean, that's 300 that's 30 a month coming from the regular fleet. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's around 1,000. I could be wrong. So let's say it is 1,000. You're losing that, 3%
a month, huh?
Yeah. You're losing that. And then, so you've got to make up for it somewhere. And then, of course, OPEC said that they do see the price going up themselves, that the price is going to go up. So they're already accounting for it somehow. And I'm sure our Wall Street will do the same. And so, again, I definitely see us continuing to only go up in the price of oil here, probably throughout the summer. I bet we go, as the smart David Blackman would say, I think the inertia is headed upwards in an upwards way.
That's where it's headed, man.
All right. Last thing around the corner, guys. We kind of overstayed our welcome with folks. But on the other hand, RT, tell us how they get a hold of you.
Yes, no, they can definitely reach me via LinkedIn or at thecrudetruth.com and send me an email there. And I just hope everybody has a great week.
All right. And almighty David, how do they reach you?
Best place to find me is at Substack, blackman.substack.com, or go to Spreaker or Spotify or any of the podcast platforms and search for The Energy Question with David Blackman. You'll find me. And if you want to send me an email, I'm at david.blackman@reagan.com.
Nice. And also, RT and David, your podcasts are going off like bonkers. I found them on Podbay. And mine's there too. So Podbay has all three of ours there. So it's absolutely wonderful. With that, we will see you guys next week.